In this film, Yaşar Kemal is at your age. Do you want to be friends with him? Friends, this is Yaşar Kemal. I am known as one of the most famous novelists of Turkish literature. Apart from my novels, I also wrote many poems and short stories. I was born in 1923 in the village of Hemite, Adana. This is a very important region since ancient times. It is known as Çukurova in our day. Çukurova is a fertile plain which is between the Mediterranean Sea and Taurus Mountains. There are cotton fields here and the villagers work in these fields. Our village was very beautiful. On one side of it, the Ceyhan River would pass, and on the other side, mountains and hills would rise. There was even an old castle on one of the hills. I loved nature and all living things in nature. Birds, butterflies, bees, horses, eagles, all living things were my best friends. I had a difficult childhood. I lost my father when I was very young. This incident made me very sad, and I became a stutterer because of my sadness. As a child, I loved to sing türkü. I got rid of stuttering by singing türkü out loud. I really wanted to learn to read and write. When I went to school, my teacher gave me an alphabet. There were also pictures of the pomegranates in the alphabet. That day, I drew pomegranate pictures all over the place for joy. After 3 months, I had learned to read and write. I was reading the newspaper. Along with me, the whole village began to learn to read and write. In those years, Ashik people travelled in the Taurus Mountains and Çukurova. They would go from village to village, telling epics of ancient times. We used to sit around the Ashik and listen to him with all the villagers. This event sometimes lasted for days. I would listen to them with such great interest that what they told me would haunt my dreams. The world of my childhood was too colourful to describe. Every living thing in nature, every smell made me happy. I used to sing songs all the time. One day I would sit at the knees of the ashik and listen to them. Another day I would watch the blacksmith and carpenters in the town work. I was particularly excited by the sparks coming out of the blacksmiths' workshops. I left school because I had to work and had all kinds of jobs. I worked in cotton fields, I drove tractors. I also worked as a librarian for a while. My interest in oral literature was so great that I went from village to village to search for laments and folk songs in the language of the people. By the way, my first poem Seyhan was published in 1939, and my first book Ağıtlar was published in 1943. I came to Istanbul from Adana in 1951. At first, I made a living by fishing. In those years, there were so many fish in the Bosphorus that I caught 2-3 kilos of fish a day. I fed myself by eating some of these and make money by selling the rest. Then I started working for a newspaper. Journalism was the best job for me. I was going to various parts of Anatolia and doing interviews. Thanks to this job, I had the opportunity to get to know the Anatolian people closely. In my articles, I mostly dealt with the problems they experienced. I love children because they are filled with endless love and joy. Each of my books has at least one child character. In fact, some of my novels are only for children. I also interviewed the children, so I got to know their world better. These interviews were first published as The Soldiers of Allah, and later as Children and Human. İnce Mehmet is the most well-known of my novels. I gained international fame with this novel. the first part of which was published in 1955. In this book, I told the story of a young peasant who struggled against injustice. This novel of mine has been translated into more than 40 languages. It was even adapted into a movie. There are those who called me a village novelist. However, I try to explain not just the village, but the common troubles, common joys, and common excitements of humanity. While doing this, I mostly benefited from our own culture and the traditions of our people. I think an artist who knows his culture well can appeal to all people in the world. But the most important thing is to love nature, people, and all living things. A tiny piece of grass, a butterfly waiting for owls on a leaf without flapping its wings, the flow of a river should be a source of a joy for every human being. Dear children, I have actually written many of my books for you. I would love that if you read one of my books. I hope that with your big hearts you will grow love and hope and create a colourful world like Chukurova of my childhood.